Hey, Jet.
Hi.
We're starting over again because the recorder shit the bed. But tell me about where you're coming from and where you're going and where you're at right now with your company. Just give me the Cole notes on it.
Okay. So my background is kind of design based, sustainable boutique hotel, homewear range, private chefing, food stylist, photographer,
Mm-hmm.
which was great for the last kind of 10 years. And then basically I got knocked up and just having a kid is so environmentally unfriendly. And we also moved country, actually. We moved from Dublin to Singapore. And I wasn't working here in Singapore, but like I needed something. And just with the baby, like using diapers, I wanted to originally start a biodegradable single-use diaper company.
Mm-hmm.
So I did loads of research, but really the technology just isn't there to make them biodegradable unless they're in lab conditions. So there are people who say their nappy diapers are biodegradable right now, but unless they're in super, super specific conditions, it's just not the case. And we were always going to go into non-toxic female sanitary products. So I just really kind of flipped it. So we would start with non-toxic products for like your periods, for menopause, perimenopause, etc. And then hopefully we get enough funds to have our own like team of scientists in their lab and create nappies that really are biodegradable in any condition.
Okay.
So we are Asia's first organic cotton sanitary subscription service, which is really exciting.
So you're an online subscription in Asia only right now.
No, so we're worldwide,
You're
but
worldwide.
we're Asia's first.
Oh, okay, so you're worldwide, but
Yeah,
you're the first one to launch out of Asia.
yeah, exactly.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, it's really exciting. And we actually launched on Friday, March the 8th. And the response so far has just been unbelievable. Like all over the world, people are buying products from us. Like it's just been incredible. And so where are we going? I suppose my plan is I'm not looking for an exit strategy. Like this isn't something that I'm planning on selling for loads and loads of money, but I do want to make loads of money. We also donate a percentage of our profits to help fighting period poverty, which is a massive issue around the world.
Period poverty, you said?
Yeah, period poverty.
So
So one in 10,
yeah, explain that.
yeah. So 1 in 10 girls currently can't afford menstrual products on a regular basis. So that goes from anywhere from like 13 to about 25, which is just crazy. And on average, they'll miss about 145 days of school over that 5-year period from like 13 to 18,
What do they?
which just really,
What happens when they can't afford? Like they have to stay at home and just kind of bleed in the open, or
yeah. So either kids start using, well, period poverty affects you in different ways. So, like a lot of women to go to work who can't afford menstrual products on a regular basis would use like rags or socks filled with cloths, etc., in their pants. Kids generally tend not to go to school, or they'll put really unhygienic products, which really, could be a really big health issue, like newspaper. Like
yeah,
I've
and you
met
can get toxic shock off of things like
yeah,
that, right? So
yeah, exactly. So it's just it basically, the company ethos is that like I really didn't want my kid to grow up in a world where this was going on, and I didn't want any other kid to have that as well. So that's why we donate a percentage of our profits, because I can still make a lot of money and I can still give myself a great wage, but I can also make a huge difference to the community on a wider level. And as a consumer myself, I'm really now looking for companies who do that.
mm-hmm.
Like I'm just not interested if your company's out to make shit ton of money and you don't do anything to help your wider community. Like we don't need huge amounts of money to survive and have a great life. So for me, it was a really, really important part of the business.
Okay, fair enough. So you're based out of Singapore. Where's your production based out of?
Europe.
Europe.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we have 2 distribution warehouses right now. And when I say distribution houses, I mean my mum is in Europe and I'm in Singapore.
I like it. I like it. So you literally just launched, right? Because I was looking
Yeah.
at your website here. I'm just going to pop this up on the screen so we can see it. So it's ILO, ILO,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And is that how you pronounce it, ILO?
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
where'd that name come from?
So, Jesus, finding a name is so bloody hard. I must have spent so many months like getting feedback and stuff. And eventually I found, so ILO is Finnish for joy.
Okay.
And in the UK, I don't know if you know, like some girls say, oh, I'm about to get my joy. You know, oh, I've got
I've
my
never
joy.
heard that
Like,
before. No.
yeah, so I thought it was quite a fun play on words. And also what I'm trying to do, like ILO is quite educational based. So we're really trying to kind of push the educational and empowerment aspect and opening the conversation up. So we're not just including women and girls in our conversations. We want men and the boys in our lives to know about this. Like it's a completely normal bodily function.
Mhm.
If your mum didn't have her period, you would not be here. So why are we so scared, ashamed, embarrassed to talk about this? You know, and I say to people, like, I'm not expecting you to like shout from the rooftops with your dad, like, oh, I've got a really heavy flow this week, or, you know, but like he should be able to not cringe at hearing the word, I've got my period.
Yeah, no, I
Like,
mean, I've lived with enough women in my life, between girlfriends, roommates, my mom, it's a thing, right? I mean, it's half the world, and it's like 4 to 5 days a month. So, it's
yeah,
like what, a sixth of the world, sixth of all
yeah,
time,
like
right?
it happens,
So,
you know?
no, I totally get it. Now, so tell me, you're at initial launch right now.
Hmm.
Let's fast forward. Well, actually, before we fast forward, I'm going to get you to fast forward into like what it's going to look like 365 days from now. So I want you to kind of keep that in your mind. But if you look at any problems right now that are potentially holding you back, anything that's, any issues that you're having, is there anything that you're running into?
Yeah, money.
Money? Okay.
Like really clearly money. So basically, what I'm
For,
doing right now is my manufacturer has given me like pre-sample basically of my order, which is
Mhm.
really unheard of. But essentially, normal people have to buy about 500,000 boxes of tampons. That's my MOQ.
Okay.
Um,
And how much is that?
that's about 40,000 euros.
Okay. And then what does each box sell for?
Each box sells for about, so in euros, 570.
Okay, so you're looking $2.5 million worth of stock is going to cost you 40,000 euros.
Yeah.
Okay, so you don't have a problem. You've got a solution just at your feet right now, right? So it's good.
Well,
I
yeah.
mean, you might not have the cash in hand, but we can get
Yeah,
into that.
that's,
So right now, cash is a problem.
yeah.
Okay.
Apart from that, nothing really. Like, and that might sound really naive and as if like I'm just walking with rose tinted glasses, but we've marketed ourselves. So at the moment, we've got a campaign happening called Bloody Strong, and we're
Hmm.
getting dads of daughters, single dads, mums with twins, daughters, girls, and we're kind of really encompassing like the male aspect to it as well. And people are really responding.
Excellent.
So like in the last week and what is it, 3 days, we've made over $700 in sales.
Hmm.
We've got subscriptions all over the world, which is just incredible. And I've not spent any money on marketing yet. So I feel really delighted with how well we're doing and how far our message has spread. Um, like I can see that just growing and growing, like I don't really feel that I'm going to run into a problem with marketing or my brand message. Like it does need to be polished, but I feel quite comfortable with it at the moment for where we are.
Okay.
Um, and like I've spoken to investors, several investors are really interested in me, but they all have a problem with my donation to of profit aspect. And I'm
Mm.
just not willing to get rid of that because like for me at the moment and the trend within my community and my group of friends is so strongly based on like what is that company doing for a wider community, that I know there's an investor out there who can see that
Well, look,
reach and potential.
there's okay. So I'm going to come back to that because there are quite a few solutions to the money problem or to the investor problem. Either way you look at it, okay. But let's talk about the ideal future. Okay.
Yeah.
365 days passes. You push like a big red magic button, and everything has gone amazing.
Okay.
What is your life looking like? What is your business looking like? Give me your vision for like a year from now. What's awesome about it?
Yeah, so business wise, we'll have 17,000 subscribers per month. And we will be selling all over the world. We don't currently sell to the USA and Canada for legal reasons, but we will have subscriptions going from everywhere in the rest of the world, especially kind of like those emerging middle class markets like Nigeria, Kenya, etc., etc. I really want an office where we have Puppy Friday, where people can bring in their puppies. And I would really, really love to have like a team of freelance mums who can come in, flexible hours, they work around their kids, as well as women who really need support to getting back into the workspace, or, you know, they come from kind of low income families or have been abused, or, you know, some sort of like, I don't know what the right word is. But, you know, like, I'm not just interested in hiring someone who wants to be paid like 500,000 a year. You know, like, I really want this to be a community business, and each of my employees are really invested in it. We'll be doing retreats every 2 or 3 months around the world, which are all about female empowerment, learning about your menstrual cycle, learning about food, movement to help with your menstrual cycle. We'll also be launching an educational program into schools all across Europe, especially the UK and Ireland. And we'll be launching period festivals around the world. So nice. We'll be hosting like big bloody brunches. So you pay for Bloody Marys by buying period products, and those period products go straight to like period poverty charities, and really, really get the community involved. Lifestyle wise, like, I'm pretty happy with how it is right now.
Well, you're working out of your bedroom right now, right? Like, you're working out of your home office. But that's going to change, right? And
I like an office for sure. Mm-hmm. But to be honest, like, it doesn't bother me if my freelance mums are anywhere around the world, you know, because it's not a distribution, it's not a packing business. Like, it's literally customer service, logistics, marketing, social media, problem solving, you know, and they can be done from anywhere. Like, within, if I'm regularly making 500 sales a week, then we'll be moving to distribution warehouses, you know, like official distribution warehouses. And then it will make our lives so much easier. Like, right now we are packing, we are posting, we are writing cards, etc., etc. Like, lifestyle wise, I really, of course, I want to pay myself a really good wage. I'd like to buy a house. I would like to be able to go on holiday and not think to myself, shit, I actually can't like afford that hotel or that villa, you know, within reason. Like, I'm not crazy thinking that I want to spend like 24 grand a night on a villa, but I would like to have really nice places to go and stay. And right now, all my money is going into this business, which is fine. I'm totally prepared for that. So yeah, I think that's it really. Like, I do expect this company to grow really quickly, and I do expect it to make a lot of money. And I'm almost preparing my business now for how that will be in 6 months' time, like in preparation for that, so that I can kind of get a head start, as opposed to like putting out the fires when they arrive. You know, I'm trying to think about what it will look like.
I get that. And I think that you're actually in a really good place. Like, you have a clarity of vision, first of all. That is, you know, if you don't have an investor that can buy into your vision, then you don't need that investor, right? There are more people out there with money than good ideas and the ability to execute on them. That's just, hands down. So there are funds, there's opportunities here. The good news is it's also that you only need money really once, right? Yeah. That's the really good news, is that, it's a one-time thing, because your margins are insane. Like, there's software margins in there, right?
Yeah.
That's which is really nice. The other thing that when you said that you didn't have investors that were on board with the giving back, I mean, one of the big success stories of the last 15 years is Tom's Shoes. Right? And Tom's Shoes is based off of the idea of, my business is giving back, I just happen to sell shoes.
Yeah.
Right? So here's where I'm a little bit curious to kind of dig in a bit more. You say you're giving a percentage to this effort, right?
Yeah. Is
that something that's quantifiable for a person that is going to buy from you? Do they think, okay, I'm spending €5 on this, that means 10%, which means 50 cents is going to blah, 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 and can they do the math in their head? Because the reason I ask is because you're living an emotional business, okay? People have to be emotional about the environment. They have to be emotional about the cause. They have to be emotional enough to not just go to the grocery store and pick up OB or Tampax, right? They have to have an emotional connection to that. And when you say percentage, then the emotion goes away for me.
Okay.
Right? So if you're talking about something like, for every box we donate 2, then they're going to go, holy shit, really? Right? Then it becomes, and it depends on what your margins are, but even if it can be a 1-to-1, I think you're still hitting really solid margins, and then you can start to build up this emotional equity in terms of when you go to Zambia and you give 1,000 boxes away, or you arrange a warehouse in Bangladesh that has monthly, that the girls can come every month and get their box, right? You can utilize that to further your brand message and to further your sales as well. But like I said, as soon as I hear the word percentage, it's no longer emotional, now it's financial.
Okay.
Right? So that's one thing. Go ahead.
For me, I'm doing percentage because if I do 1-for-1, those margins when I get into a distribution warehouse diminish quite a bit. I'm looking at about 70p per every order to send off. So if a box of tampons cost me €1.70, let's say, then I'm adding $1.30 onto that, and I'm selling for $5.70, and that's including postage. My margin isn't that strong.
But here's the thing: is that you don't actually have to post to these people that you're giving away to, right?
No, but I'm talking about for you as a customer, your postage is free.
Exactly. So that's fine, right? You're charging $5, whatever it's costing you, $2 all in.
Yeah.
So you have about okay. So you're down to about $3 margin, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but your box is only costing you, let's call it an unlabeled box, right? Because you can have 2 separate products. You can have one which is how do we get as many products out as inexpensively as possible, which could be potentially a year's supply, right? Yeah. In a large, nondescript box, which is costing you a quarter of what the other one with the printed pretty box is. It's just, it needs to be effective. It doesn't need to be pretty, right? And you can give that away a year at a time. Yeah. And then, on the other side is, what does the customer actually get, right? And inside of the box are probably going to be the same thing, right? But on the outside, you can find ways to make the thing that you're giving to, as part of your mission is to, decrease period poverty, right? So decreasing period poverty is not branding. Decreasing period poverty is not any of these other things. It's how do you get that out to them? And, if you look at it on a per piece basis, right? Are they pads or tampons?
They're both.
Both. Okay. So, either a pad or a tampon, maybe, you go for the one that has greater margin so that you can get more of them out, or it probably would depend on the country that they're in as to whether they can use tampons or whether they have to use pads or whatever the case is. But I think that if you can look at the giving side as something that can be consolidated into, let's call them high density populations, right, at the beginning, and then as you grow your business you can potentially go into mid density populations and eventually out into rural areas, so that way you can avoid the entire shipping question for them. And you're down to, let's call it 70p, and if you really look at it, how much of that is in your packaging and labeling, right? Yeah. How much can you reduce off of that?
And so how do I do it? So like, for example, with my manufacturer at the moment, she will either do me a minimum order of boxes that are already packed, and she makes the boxes for me, or a minimum order of bulk. And like, it's not that much difference between the number of bulk tampons and the number of packaged tampons that are my MOQs.
Yeah.
So like, how do I do
milestones? So a milestone. So if we talk about the example,
I just want to do it all at once.
Yeah, no. Well, here's the thing: is that it doesn't make sense for you to, one person buys and then you go and look for one person to give to. What happens is you build an account. Right? So you build so that you've got this ticker, and maybe you've got like a thermometer that goes up, and you're like, how high can we go by the time period giveaway day 2019 happens, which might be like at the end of the year, or it could be that you loop over to next year, and March 14th is Pi Day. Well, whatever period day becomes is the day that you go out and you're giving like a year's supply to however many people you can based on the year's supply of subscribers that you've received. And that way you can consolidate all of your efforts, and you can make it a team building activity too. Maybe one of your retreats is like, going out and doing this. Right? That's one way you can do it, is just the milestone is by X date we want to have, we're going to give away everyone who before X date has signed up as a subscription. Right? Okay. And what that also allows you to do is that allows you to bring on things like influencers. It allows you to have marketing campaigns. It allows you to push towards this, because everyone who signs up before a certain date, they know that they're signing up for a year-long subscription, and that maybe you can do some sort of a special offer so they pay the whole year at once, or whatever the case may be, so that they get in on it, and then they know that they're actually they're part of the reason that this whole thing is happening.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. That's one way to do it.
Sure. And so like now, for example, like media, podcasts they've been on, press, or like articles, etc., it's all states I give away a percentage of my profits. So like, how in terms of changing that message, because I know if I was as a consumer, if I suddenly saw a new brand stating that they gave away X amount of profits, and then it like the next day it was like,
so here's
how do you do that?
Well, you are building this for the long term. You're not building this for the right now, right?
Yeah.
And you're already getting good traction, right? You can potentially, and I'm not saying that this way is definitely the way to go, right? It's you may want to test the message with a few people, right? You may want to say, hey, what do you think is better? Do you think it's better if I give away a percentage, or if we work it into a one-to-one? And this is the way I'm looking at it. Like, what do you feel, right? And you can, before you release it publicly, because this could be, you are a new brand, right? And you could release it in like a splash form where it's like, for the 2020 year, you determined that as of January 1st, after having interviewed hundreds of people and talked to thousands of girls, and you wanted to find the way to get the most impact, and you're a company that's liquid, you're a company that's always evolving, you want to do the best for your customers as well as for the world, and that's why you're now announcing the new initiative, which is whatever,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, gotcha.
That makes sense?
Yeah, totally.
So does that, and like I said, I mean, you can test that messaging and see what actually works. There's a guy who's running for president in the U.S. right now, and he's really interesting because he calls himself the opposite of Donald Trump because he's an Asian who likes math.
Oh my God.
And what's funny is like he's got this campaign slogan called "Humanity First." Like, how'd you come up with that? He's like, we tested it. I mean, it's all about numbers, right? He's got these signs at his rallies, and they say math on them, and he's it's fascinating. But it really his slogan is kind of hitting home, right? So you can test your message, you can test what you're giving away, but none of that's going to make a difference if you don't get money in the bank, right? So tell me about, first of all, that's why did you say 17,000 users a month after 365 days? Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so like in all my freaking Excel sheets and maths spreadsheets, which I'm not good at all. Basically, if we get 17,000 subscribers a month, we like make a profit of 1.2 million.
But why is that happening after a year? What's the like? What are the, why? Why is that happening after a year? Why is that not happening after 6 months or after 3 years?
I think because for me, like, I don't have the money right now to do crazy marketing campaigns that cost me a lot of money and get me a lot of reach. Like the marketing campaigns we're doing right now with influencers are all free based, or they're donating their subscription that I would have given them to do it to charity, etc. And like I would really, if I had money, I would be spending probably about like £100, euros a day on like ads, Facebook, Instagram, influencers, etc. So also because I have a 1-year-old and it's quite hard doing everything really as I would want it to. And this year having a baby has really taught me that I need to measure my work ability not by how I previously was able to work, but how I'm able to work now, which has been a real struggle for me. And I know that like I don't have a 12-hour day. Like I just don't have that time right now, and I'm trying really hard to work smart and like not just work really hard, but work for a purpose and a reason. But it's also not happening as fast as I would like it to. And that's all because of me and my time constraints right now. So I'm giving myself a year to come to that ability. I think if I could get money behind me, I think I would be looking at probably 5 months, 6 months to get that amount. The response we've had so far has been overwhelming. Like,
so how many units are you holding on to right now, and then what is the time frame to get your 500,000 pieces? By the way, if it's a 500,000 minimum order quantity, that's not happening in your mom's house in Ireland. That's
exactly.
That's,
no, I totally know.
Yeah.
So at the moment, she's giving me about 3, like maximum 5,000. I'm getting from her. So
can you continue to get 5,000 at a time?
I could probably eke it out for a few more tries, but I have a feeling after like order number 3, she'll be like, "That's it, Jet. Like you need to give me the money, babe."
Yeah.
Which is fair enough. She's really doing me a favor right now.
Here. So you're getting 5,000 pieces at a time.
Yeah.
Which is times, and you got about $3 margin on each of them.
Yeah.
And then you got times 3. So in theory, so here's a true bootstrapper, right? Here's like, you barely eke it by. If you were to do those 3 rounds and not spend a penny of your profit, right? You're looking at about 45K, right? I mean, this is if you don't need it to buy like milk and rent. right? This is, if you happen to have some savings already. If you don't, then we got to talk about like an option B, right? But in theory, if you can talk to her and say, look, these 3 are going to allow me to buy these 15K are going to allow me to buy 500K. Right? Or give yourself the cushion and say, look, I need 4 rounds, and then I'll buy your 500K. No questions asked, because I've got extra expenses to get into the blah, 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 blah. If I give money away to investors, then what's going to happen is, the way that they're asking for it right now is that I'm going to be losing my control of the company. They want to put people on the board. I'm going to have to spend a bunch of that on an office. We're not ready yet, right? I mean, there's a whole bunch of reasons that you can say you don't want to bring investment on. But here's, it's not just investors as your only option. Okay? It's not just investors as your only option. There are other options, such as like a bridge loan, right? There's a small business loan. There is the idea of, the rich uncle that just wants interest back and doesn't want a percentage of your company. There is, there are funds that help female entrepreneurs to grow. I worked with an entrepreneur in Ireland, and she had received 150 grand worth of stuff from the government, because she kept winning pitch competitions, and she'd grown up her her team, and this was for a tech thing. But tech isn't the only thing out there, and there are a lot of initiatives out there, especially if you're going green and you're giving some sort of a solution, or if you can have something attached to it where it's like the Gates Foundation or something like that. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity out there. I'm just curious what you've looked at and what is, what's been in your wheelhouse? What have you been looking at and what have you been investigating?
So I don't have a rich uncle to start with.
Does your husband?
Don't have a rich uncle. And I pretty much spent all my savings on this so far. I have set up a GoFundMe page, so we created a video, and I have already got donations happening. So I'm trying to raise about 20,000, and if £20,000, and if I raise £20,000, I would get a loan of 20,000. So that would cover me, plus a little bit for marketing and distribution costs. To start with, I have looked at funding. The funding that I've looked at here in Singapore, everybody wants you to be in business for a year minimum before you can apply social enterprise kind of boards and stuff like that. I'm talking to, but again, they are all looking for me to be at least 6 months launched, which is fine in 6 months, but I'm also very impatient.
Well, the problem with 6 months is that first of all, are you going to run through your first 5,000 and your second 5,000 in those 6 months?
Probably not.
Okay, just
if I don't grow really quickly, I could potentially, of course, and I feel. Sorry, go on.
Well, here's where I'm at. What if you accidentally went viral? Right? What if you had a video that they liked the sparkle in the kid's eyes, or that someone caught onto it and it just spun out of control and got 60 million views, right? What if? Because if that happens, and then all of a sudden you have order after order after order after order after order after order after order, you're gonna be able to find a way to make that work, right?
Yeah.
There's not going to be a question in your mind that you're going to have the capability to make that work.
Yeah.
Right? You're also going to start to notice that there are certain things that you're doing in your day that hold lower value, and there's certain things in your day that hold higher value. And you're going to be able to get people to take over those lower value activities so that you can focus on the higher value activities.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you work on the premise of this shit's going to go viral, I'm not going to stop until this shit goes viral, right? Then it's going to change your paradigm in terms of who you're talking to, the influencers that you're reaching out to, the things that you're saying to them, potentially the model that they could, work with you under. Because there are two types of ego out there. There's the altruist, or there's the ego of like, I need to do this for me, right? I'm doing this for me. This is like the typical Instagram, you know, I have the pretty pictures and look at me and like, you know, pay all the attention to me, right? But, you know, and that releases a whole bunch of chemicals into your brain. And then there's like a second type of ego, which is called altruistic ego. Right? It's the ego we have for our tribe, and it's that good feeling you get when you buy a pizza for a homeless guy. Right? It's the feeling you get when you're giving to, you know, a charity. It's the way that you feel when you're giving to the community. Now, you are building a business based on altruistic ego. Okay?
Yeah.
And people who are addicted to their own, you know, regular ego, I can't even remember what it's called, but that their regular ego, also have a need and a feeling to give their altruistic ego. So if you can build in something so that it makes, I mean, there's a difference between going viral to the community and to the world, and there's, you know, where it goes viral in terms of everybody wants to participate in trying to make this thing work. Right? So if you can have it go viral amongst influencers, if you can have it go viral amongst radio stations and news stations, right? This is how you can really, like, you can go,
yeah.
Right? Now, that could be that, you know, just as an example, an influencer, if you have an influencer model that says that you give the influencer a special code to give to their tribe, and that's like a double give code, where it's like normally you give, you know, a 1-to-1, but, you know, with the double give code, these influencers, you know, if you're going to release a code to them because there's a limited number of codes and you have a certain set of demands in order for that to happen, then they get to release the code to their people, and it becomes like a double give or a 1.5 give or whatever. I mean, that's a way that you can start to have conversations with real influencers. And you can really start to scale this thing. Now, you've got 5,000 units sitting. You think you can get another 5,000. You have a factory owner who believes in you. Right?
Yeah.
So let's just say that it starts to go friggin' crazy.
Yeah.
For me, that's the person I go to. That's the person I go to, and I say, look, give me 90 days terms on what's being pumped out of this factory, right? You give me 90 days terms, or you open up a line of credit for me so that I can bridge this, and I'll sign an exclusivity deal for you for the next 5 years. I won't go anywhere else, right? Hell, I'll even throw in 5% of the company for you.
Okay.
Right? What you have to realize is that there's capital that is at your fingertips if you know the right way to bring it up to them. Right? Sure. You have 8 uncles that are rich enough to give $5,000 each. Maybe not uncles, but probably cousins, and maybe people you went to university with, and potentially someone that, you know, you used to work with when you were in the corporate world. And, you know, so you could potentially put together a fund where it's like, all right, not just a GoFundMe where like I can throw in $25, but a fund of actual people who want to invest in your company. It may have to be some sort of a Panamanian corporation, right? Or, you know, you may have to be creative in terms of how it works so that non-certified investors are able to put in and still have a stake that is legally theirs. Mm-hmm. But that's all possible. I mean, shit, I grew a company up in Mexico where they had just opened a new type of company like 4 or 5 years before I launched mine that was specifically to bring on investment, where you could set the share price at anything you want. And I brought on like $25,000 from different Canadian investors. Gave it a $500,000 valuation, ended up giving like, you know, a small percentage of the company. I kept all of the control, but it was because the potential for the company was so great. And I told everyone, I'm like, look, this is going to the moon, or it's going to be a huge crater in the ground. Unfortunately, it turned out to be a huge crater in the ground. but the next one won't be, right?
Yeah.
So
okay.
There are, like, I want you to open your mind to the possibility that there is money around you and there is money waiting to make more money with you. And you run enough margin that, you're paying, you're including postage, which is going to probably start to bite you in the ass until you can open up a whole bunch more local distribution centers, and you're going to have to be careful of the influencers that you get, because you don't want one in Lithuania if they've got like an extra high import tax and whatever, right? It's treading carefully, but don't be afraid of getting traction, right? Because you know that if you get traction, that there's answers to all of your problems, right? There's the saying that if money, or if the problem can be solved with money, it's not a problem, it's an expense.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So, what are you thinking? What's going on in your mind right now?
I think I'm not afraid of it taking off. Like I fully believe that's going to happen.
Okay.
Anyway. Like I really do believe this company is going to take off. I think right now I'm just like frustrated because I want it to take off right now.
Good. Then make it take off right now. Look, there are certain things that you're doing that are basically a waste of time.
Okay.
Right?
Like what?
Well, think about it this way. You can efficiently respond to 1,000 emails a day that makes you no money, or you can effectively communicate with one person who gets you 1 million orders. Right?
Okay.
So what I want you to start to think about is on your day, in your day-to-day work, where are you being efficient and where are you being effective? And I want you to put effectiveness at the top. And the effectiveness is based off of, okay, you want 17,000 in a year. Here's the reality. 17,000 subscriptions is what, that $250,000 a year? 250,000 pieces a year, more or less, I think. Little less than 250,000 pieces a year, which means that your minimum order quantity lasts you 2 years. You got to sell more.
Yeah.
You do. You have to sell more. Okay. Now, there's the idea that you're going to be able to do this purely through the internet, right? And that could potentially scale up, but there's a big portion of the world that's not buying things off of the internet. Okay.
Yeah, well, I am doing wholesale. Sorry. So I just signed to a multinational here in Singapore, and I'm in talks for a contract with a multinational in Ireland.
Okay, so you're not stuck on the idea of, you're not stuck on the idea. Okay, good.
Like, let's get all of these products out to as many places as we can.
So you're going to potentially, just to clarify here, when you sell to a wholesaler, your subscription idea goes out the window, right? Like that is you're getting space in stores. Is that okay? Cool. So then it turns into a consumable.
Wait. Well, like I still want to do subscriptions.
Oh, for sure. No, I'm saying you're online. There's a difference between I can buy a subscription to it online and it can show up at my door, and it's going to be carried in Walmart right next to Tampax.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. So, yeah. So, like the one in Ireland is one of there's basically 3 supermarkets in Ireland, and it's one of those that I'm in talks with. And here, the one I've signed with is the fastest growing online delivery supermarket in Asia. So, like, I feel really happy about that, and I want more multinationals, definitely. Because they, like, some are on consignment, and other ones, they just buy a whole bunch of stock from me, and that's great.
Yeah, no, for sure. For sure, because like I was saying, you'd have to have 17,000 individuals every month that you are, basically fulfilling for, right? Just to reach your milestone, which still keeps an extra year worth of stock in your warehouse. And every day that stock is in your warehouse is a day that it's costing you money, right? Yeah. So I think, look, you can test both markets, but for me, if Walmart comes knocking and says, great product, we love it, we love your brand, we love everything about it, the only thing is we're not going to eat into our own business by allowing our customers to buy stuff off the shelf once and then get a friggin' subscription from you. We're just not going to allow it.
Okay.
Right? Because that's the fact of it is, you are competing against retail in this moment.
Yeah.
Right? If I'm a retailer, I look at your product and think, cool, I like it. It's got great packaging. I go on their website and I'm like, oh, well, shit, they can just put their credit card in here and they can get it shipped to them once a month with free shipping? What? That's ridiculous. I'm not going to put that on my shelf. I'm just going to, I'm just basically going to teach people to not shop at my store. Can you see the logic in that?
I can see the logic, but like I feel grocery shopping is so different now. Like it's not just like people, for example, we get subscription groceries here to us. So every month we get like dishwash cleaner, toilet roll.
Totally agree. Now that doesn't
that we just go in their subscription that the supermarket has.
True. I mean, potentially, right? If you have a way for it to, because look, I just spent 6 months in Canada. Mm-hmm. Ain't nobody in Canada getting subscription groceries.
Really?
No, God, no.
Wow.
It's like let's go to Walmart, let's go to Sobeys, let's go to Great Canadian Superstore. Everyone still does grocery shopping there. I was in Colombia for the last 2 years before that, and there are I don't think there's actually subscription grocery, because what there is there's real-time on-demand apps where someone will deliver it to you on a motorbike.
Okay.
Right? So that's, the world is changing for sure, and you want to be at the forefront. But there's still the on-time, real-time, there's that idea. There's the idea that, I only used 3 pieces this month. Do I need a new one to show up next month? Is the subscription really the answer for me? Right? Am I running out every single month? So I'm not saying, well, okay, let me put it to you this way.
Yeah, sorry.
If it were my business, being brutally honest,
yeah,
I would be using the subscription model as a band-aid to get me into multinationals until the first multinational told me I couldn't do a subscription model, in which case I would turn it off, and then I would be pushing hard on getting into every single grocery chain you can imagine, because they have distribution, whether they have real-time distribution, whether they have subscription distribution, whether they have an app, whatever the case is, their job is to get it to the customer. Okay. And then your entire business changes, because your entire business goes from, basically talking from the factory to talking to the grocery store, right? Yeah. And that is, even to their distribution house, because once he gets to their distribution house, you have to worry about it, right? One of my best friends in Mexico, his family ran a company that did things like Q-tips and rubbing alcohol and stuff like that for Walmart. And basically they had the factory, and then they would ship it from the factory directly to the distribution centers, and that was their entire business. Right?
It sounds really easy.
Nice. It becomes really but here's the cool part is that at the end of the day, you get to become an advocate, right? You get to become the professional cheerleader. You get to become the person who has the voice to the world saying, this is why we're different. This is what happens when you get from us. This is the event thanks to all of you. You get to become that international cheerleader for the thing that you want to do. And then when you release diapers, you already have all of these on speed dial just waiting for your next product, because you have kicked so much ass in getting this out, and they can't keep it on their fucking shelves, right? Yeah. Look, if it were my business, I think subscriptions are cute and they're a fun way to start. Ain't nobody got up, unless you were a software product, Netflix is a subscription model I can get behind, because it's something where I don't have to ship anything. I can't think of a single product like that I can hold in my hand that needs to be on subscription.
Yeah.
right? It's a trendy business. It's new, but
Yeah, I think, yeah, from a girl though, I disagree.
okay.
Like, you don't need I mean, I'm assuming you don't need
You can
You
assume
might,
correctly.
you,
Yeah.
but like, I need this every month,
Oh, I know you do.
whether I want it or not.
I know you do.
And like, I just,
Look, it's as close as you can get to needing a subscription, but even then, it's unless there's some sort of an embarrassment around you going to the store or clicking a button on your phone app so that it shows up at your house. You already said it. You get subscription groceries in Singapore. Okay? You can put that shit on subscription. Right? It doesn't have to be your subscription.
yeah, no,
Right.
as in, I'm not saying like if it's going to be subscription, it has to be mine. Like, if I got into multinationals, I would happily not do subscription because it is so much work.
Yeah.
Individual orders.
Oh, God,
I
yeah.
totally get that.
Oh, God, yeah.
As in, I'm fine being in multinationals.
Here's an interesting way that you could and I was working with a company out of Spain and Thailand, and we were talking about how do you get international distribution, right? And actually, the last person I did one of these calls with, we were talking about how they get distribution. And it turns out, like, here's just a quick example, okay? In Colombia, the biggest supermarket chain is called Éxito, and it's owned by one family. They've owned it, and they basically grew the whole chain up. It's just one family that owns it. It's not publicly traded or anything. And there's like 3 people you talk to if you want to get a product in there. Right? And then you have Colombia. And they have stores from the size of a 7-Eleven all the way up to the size of a Walmart supercenter. Right? So that's an example of how easy it can be to get that distribution, right? But I mean, if we talk about what does the distribution look like, what I would say is that you can be inclusive of the entire world, and as you gain distributors, you can start to direct them towards the place where the distribution happens. So just let's use the example of Colombia, okay? So if I live in Bogota right now, I can go on your website, I can order it, the subscription is going to ship, it's going to arrive at my house every month, right?
Yeah.
And then you do a deal with Éxito because you've only got 100 girls in Colombia that are buying every month.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go from 100 up to 100,000, and then up to 1 million, and then up to 1.5 million, and then you're doing a 1.5 million women a month through Éxito. And when everyone comes to your site, you can say available exclusively at Éxito, right? And then you transfer those, the women on the subscription model, and you say, hey, by the way, we have an exclusive deal with Éxito, so now you can go to your corner store and buy it. It's actually going to be cheaper because you don't have to worry about the shipping, and you get to save yourself 50 cents on the box.
Yeah.
Right? And at that point, you get to phase out subscription. So you could use the subscription kind of as a Band-Aid solution to allow global distribution. As long as you said you don't have an exit plan for the business, but maybe you have an exit plan for subscription, right? Where it's like once you have closed a country, or once you've closed a region, or once you've closed a continent, at that point, you can start to let everybody who's on the subscription know that they're going to have 6 months left, at which point they can get it through the Walmart app, or they can get it at Costco, or they can get it wherever the hell, it's going to be close to them, and it's going to be deliverable. And that can be one of your caveats if you're willing to sign with somebody is, yeah, I need to make sure this can get to every single one of my customers, so you have to have shipping.
Yes. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'd be happy with that.
I mean, and because that's how you go from, and at that point, you're not worrying about 17,000 units a month. You're worrying about, millions of units a month, because there's a reason that factory ships 500K as a minimum order quantity. That's not their maximum.
Yeah.
Right? It's not. And the cool part about getting these types of distribution deals is if you can get one, then the next one you can get on better terms, and you can say, well, look, I need the money, I need the money within 30 days, and then you're on 60-day terms with your factory. where they'll ship and you pay 60 days later, but the person who's receiving the shipment pays after 30 days. Then you have all of that money in your bank account for 30 days. You literally don't have any money out of pocket.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
So there, what it all comes down to is the power of your brand, right? How brandable are you? How big is your message? How much can you get people excited about the thing that you're doing? Right?
Okay, so how can I change my message to make it more exciting?
It sounds like you're doing a good job so far. I'm not the one to tell you what your message should be. You're the one who determined your message. You're the one who has a really strong
why. But how can I make it more like, so more multinationals will get excited about it? Like, how do I do that?
Okay, so here's what I would say is that be faithful to your values. Be faithful to your mission and be faithful to your vision, okay? But then have a strategy to make that a reality in any market that you're willing to go into. Okay? So if you have someone in Ireland that you're in talks with, then this could be like your beta test version of how do you growth hack Ireland, right? How do you make this a big thing in Ireland? Who are the influencers in Ireland? How do you get on board with this in Ireland? Like, what does that look like, right? Do you have to have some sort of an affiliate thing so that the influencers can have a little link and a discount code? I don't know. I mean, look, there's not enough time in this call to go through all of the possibilities of how you could make this campaign amazing, but you have to make it amazing in Ireland if you're going to be launching in Ireland, and you have to make Irish people care. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you be faithful to your brand and then be focused on your market. Okay? That's where I would take it. Like, if this were my business, that's where I would be taking it. And then I'm not talking 17,000 subscriptions a month. We're hitting 365 days with potentially our first 1 million units sold. You there?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
I can, yeah.
I can hear you.
Yeah. Good.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
So tell me, what's going through your mind right now? What do you think? I mean, is there anything else that you want to touch on? Are we missing on anything? Are you starting to? Because what you're going to want to do now is take this video and kind of re-clarify. Because there's a difference between having, the numbers-based business goals and understanding that you want to have an impact, and an impact is not 17,000 people a month, right? Mm-hmm. I used to have, just as a really quick insight here, we used to have a with Canada Burger. That was my business I had in Mexico. We had 3 locations and 42 employees, and that was the one where we thought it was going to be the $1 billion business, and ended up as a huge crater. But one of the things that we did was we realized that we were using pork burgers instead of beef burgers, because pork it's a lot less harmful to the environment. So it turns out that just on a pork burger versus a beef burger, you save like 3,600 liters of water, 7.5 square feet worth of arable land, and 6.5 kilograms worth of feed. That's the difference between pork and beef in terms of. So we were calculating it, and it was like millions of liters of water that we were saving, and we were in the process before it all went. Right, it was an intellectual property issue. We were about to sell off our rights to basically open up a large portion of the country, and the intellectual property rights came in, and anyways, I can tell you about that at a different time. But we were in the process of building a calculator for that, so that we could have competitions between people on who could save more, right? Okay. And do like a university on university against university on who could save more water by eating more hamburgers. So I mean, if you think about what your actual impact is, there's the possibility that you could start to create competition between markets, or just as an entire initiative, talk about what your impact is, not only in what you're giving, but in what's being saved, because it's a twin message, right? It's two sides of the same message. One is the world, and the other side is the people, right?
Yeah.
So I think that, that there's probably room for both of those messages, as long as, you don't want to inundate people with messages, but it could be there, just available for you to launch campaigns off of if you have the ability to use the numbers to create a message, right? And that comes back to what I said, when you talk percentages, the emotion can go away, but if it doesn't mean that number isn't there. It just means that you have to find a way to communicate that number in a way that really pulls on people's heartstrings and makes them want to act in a certain way. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Okay.
Is there anything else you would like to touch on before we close off today?
No, I don't think so. I still have a lot to think about.
Okay. Well, how are you feeling right now? Like, how did you like the call? Did you appreciate it?
Yeah, you did. I feel as if nothing we touched on wasn't going around my head, but it was good to have it spoken about. Because I think I knew when I went into multinationals and got big accounts, it would be pointless doing subscriptions.
Okay, good. Mm-hmm.
But I hadn't really talked about it in the same logic that you spread it out to me. And I suppose the thought of a multinational saying to me, well, you can't do subscriptions anymore, hadn't even crossed my mind. So that was really good. So that it won't be a shock when it happens. Because I would have been like, what? I mean, I think I'm okay, but what? I think I hadn't really thought about how I could leverage my business with my manufacturer, opposed to always being determined by their rules. I do know that you can do that, but I suppose I just hadn't really processed it in the terms of well, my company's worth really good business for them. So what can they do for me? Not just I'm another customer,
No, I totally hear you.
Yeah, so that's really interesting for me.
I think a lot of times entrepreneurs don't realize how much leverage they have.
Yeah.
Right.
I totally agree. Because I think I just feel a bit oh, thanks for doing me a favor. And then I'm actually, hold on. You're doing me a favor now, but that's because I'm going to get really big, and then I'm going to be doing you a favor.
Exactly. Well, think about it this way. Venture capitalists expect 9 out of 10 of their investments to go down in flames. They expect that. Okay, so when they're investing in tech companies, there's a 90% failure rate that they're totally okay with, because then there's a couple of them that will kind of float along, and then there's the ones that will go to the moon, right? So her floating you 5,000 pieces is her equivalent of saying, I think there's a chance here. All right, I think there's a chance. And you being able to negotiate where you have a deal with the chain in Ireland, for example, and you come to terms with that chain in Ireland, and they want to order 100,000 pieces. You say, all right, cool, I need that on 30-day terms. Then you go to the factory and say, hey, I need 60. I need 60 days on this product. That is how you can leverage, their willingness to purchase. And you go to the factory with a purchase order and say, hey, here's the purchase order, black a couple of the things out there so they can't see all of the details, they can't see how much your margin is and all that kind of stuff. But you go to them and say, look, I've got this purchase order. What I need is X number of days to make sure, and I need you to fulfill it, right? And they'd be stupid. Yeah. They'd be stupid to say no and say, all right, cool. Well, if they do happen to say no, then have a backup plan in place, right? Because for 30 days, there's loan sharks who will take care of that. If you're looking at $1 million coming into your bank account versus, you don't want to necessarily go down that path, but there are so many options out there to get money when money is just on the horizon. It's not even funny.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you got some value out of this. I would like to hear an update. Actually, what I would really like is in like a day, I'm going to send you a quick little survey. And if you wouldn't mind just jumping on the camera and responding to the questions as to how you felt about this, because that's going to be another thing that we're going to share. And I think we're going to get the word out about this as much word as my brand currently has. You're going to help me grow my brand, and I'll do my best to help you grow yours. All right?
Perfect.
Awesome. Cool, Jette.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.